Jazzcast Pros.
Now, we all know how frustrating it can be to wake up in the middle of the night, either drenched in sweat or shivering because you can't seem to get comfortable. How does temperature impact your sleep? Well, today I'm going to break it down, exploring the science behind thermoregulation and offering some practical tips to help you create the perfect sleep environment. And I'll be joined by Glenn Paradise, founder and CEO of Deep Sleepwear, who's developed an innovative product that helps regulate your temperature while you sleep. You don't want to miss it. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Doze Podcast, where we explore the world of sleep health and wellness. I'm your host, Soda Kuchkowski, and today I'm covering one of the most important factors in how well you sleep. But it can often be overlooked, even though it's literally all around us. And I'm talking about how temperature affects your sleep. Did you know that temperature in your sleep environment can influence not just the quality of your sleep, but also your overall well-being? It can affect everything from your mood and mental health to how refreshed you actually feel in the morning. And this all comes down to something known as thermal comfort, which is essentially how hot or cold you feel in your environment. Now, thermal comfort is influenced by both environmental factors like the weather or the temperature in your bedroom, and personal factors such as your age, metabolic rate, and even what you're wearing to bed. Achieving thermal comfort is key to good sleep because if you're too hot or too cold, you're likely to have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep. And studies show that our body temperature naturally drops in the evening as part of our circadian rhythm, signaling that it's time to wind down. And this decrease in temperature signals to your body that it's time to sleep, promoting the production of melatonin, the hormone that makes you feel ready for bed. But here's the catch. If your bedroom is too hot or too cold, it can disrupt this natural process. And when your sleep environment is too warm, it can be particularly problematic. Research shows that those who regularly sleep in hot conditions are nearly twice as likely to have been diagnosed with depression or anxiety compared to those who rarely experience overheating at night. And this is because a hot environment makes it harder for your body to cool down, which is essential for entering those deeper stages of sleep. So what can you do to maintain your thermal comfort and improve your sleep? Well, one simple tip is to control the temperature of your room. Experts recommend keeping the bedroom between 60 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit. But this can vary depending on individual preferences. And if your room is too warm, your body might struggle to reach that ideal lower temperature, leading to restless sleep. Conversely, if it's too cold, your body might expend too much energy trying to stay warm, which can also disrupt your sleep. So the thing is to figure out, what is your environment made of? Some people live in an older home, some live in a new build, some live in a condo, whether you live on the top or bottom floor, all of these different things can actually affect the airflow and the temperature in your home. So again, it's going to be about that trial and error. You want to keep it on the cooler side, but not too cool. So how do you actually achieve thermal balance? One of the most effective ways is by adjusting your sleep environment. Not only setting your thermostat to that ideal range, but by also using breathable, moisture-wicking bedding that can help regulate your body temperature. And for those who tend to sleep hot, you might want to consider using things like cooling pillows or mattress toppers designed to disperse heat away from your body. Another key tool in your thermal wellness arsenal is sleepwear. The clothes you wear to bed can make a huge difference in how comfortable you feel throughout the night. And that's where products like the Deep Sleep Hoodie come into play. This innovative piece of sleepwear is designed not only to keep you comfortable, but to actively regulate your temperature, ensuring you stay in that sweet spot all night long. And with that said, I'm thrilled to have the creator of this game-changing product here with us today. Glenn Paradise is the founder and CEO of Deep Sleepwear. After years of struggling with his own sleep, Glenn took matters into his own hands and created something truly special that ensures you stay in that ideal thermal comfort zone all night long. Glenn, thank you so much for joining me today on the Doze podcast. I'm really excited to have a conversation with you regarding temperature and sleep and how temperature helps us sleep our best, right? Before we get into the details about that, can you just share a little bit about yourself, your sleep journey, and ultimately what became the creation of your company, Deep Sleepwear?
Yeah, happy to be here, Soda. I'm excited for your podcast in general. I've been listening to them. They've been great. So we, as part of Global Sleep Team, really appreciate what you're doing here. So thank you. Yeah, this is not something that I saw coming. at all. But to go way back, my sleep challenges started back in 2010, if not before. 2010 was a time when my wife was sick. She was out of the house for 7 weeks. We had 2 young kids, a new dog, and all the responsibilities suddenly like that fell upon me. And the date is 10/10/10, October 10th, 2010. I'll never forget that. It's a day that lives in infamy in our household. And it's kind of the day that I forgot how to sleep. With all of these responsibilities on me now, I felt like sleep was a luxury that I just couldn't afford. And I just learned kind of how to deal without sleep. And it got to the point where insomnia was a regular thing. I always slept with one eye and one ear open, and it just became a habit. And it was a tough one to break. And that culminated in me getting the flu that just had me basically bedridden for 3 weeks. So this was 2017, and I hadn't been sleeping well for those previous 7 years. Finally caught up to me. And I just kind of laid there knowing that all I needed to do to heal was to sleep. And it's the last thing I could do. So I just laid there kind of marinating in my own sweat for 3 weeks. And I paid attention to what was going on with my body. And I was just trying to convince myself, all you need to do is sleep. But the temperature fluctuations, the ambient noise, the ambient light, all of these things were fighting against me, and I just couldn't sleep. So that's when I thought to myself, okay, I'm sweating through my entire wardrobe. I tried heavy hoodies because I would freeze. So I would sweat through that. I'd take that off. I'd be sweating. And then I would just, all in all, the fluctuations of temperature were driving me crazy. The light was driving me crazy because I was trying to sleep during the day. The sounds were driving me crazy. And I started to formulate this thing in my head. I'm like, okay, I need to block the sound. I need to block the light. I need something that I don't have to keep taking off and putting on so my temperature can kind of stay somewhat consistent. There's got to be something out there that has already been put together, functional sleepwear. And I went looking for it, and it absolutely wasn't there. So I'm like, all right, I guess it's up to me. And I just started to formulate this thing as I laid there, not sleeping. And what I came up with was the patented Deep Sleep Hoodie.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like you said, it's a piece of performance wear, and sleep is not only a recovery tool, but this is a tool that actually helps you to achieve that as well. I know that your hoodie is patented in terms of I guess you would call it wickware or what the fabric is and so forth. How did you piece that together and kind of figure out what was best suited to kind of get that thermoregulation that you were looking for?
I still, at my advanced age, consider myself an athlete, and I am wearing a fair amount of Under Armour and the like. And when I was going through my wardrobe, trying to find something that I could sleep in and not have to be disturbed by the temperature fluctuations, it really came down to athletic wear or athleisure wear. And that fabric was pretty much what I went with. It's not a proprietary fabric that I use, at least not yet. We're working on that. But when I was designing this, the most important thing to me was function first. I'm not a fashion guy, and I take offense to fashion sometimes. So it has to be function first. It has to actually help you sleep. So the fit was really important. It couldn't be too tight, but couldn't be too loose. And it was pretty much the base layers that Under Armour was manufacturing at the time that led me to follow that same kind of route. And really what I started with was rash guards. If you're not familiar with what those are, it's what wrestlers, grapplers, and martial artists will use to train in so they don't get rashes from the mats. So it fits kind of close to the skin. So it allows you, from a functionality standpoint, when you're sleeping, it allows you to toss and turn without bunching up. And that's one thing that is a big challenge for sleepers in traditional sleepwear, is that it's usually cotton and it is usually a little oversized, and that works against your sleep. So It was something that I arrived on. It was already in my wardrobe, and the patented stuff that I put on it is worked out to be high performance sleepwear. And I'm thrilled to say that we're helping thousands of people around the world now sleep better.
No, absolutely. You know, my husband and I have both tried it. We love it for travel. And like you said, function. It has a built-in wide eye mask right into the hoodie that goes over. So when you're talking about blocking that sound, blocking that light, getting that temperature regulation, it has everything inclusive in this one item versus like having to have all of these tools. A lot of times people complain that, you know, they tend to tear their eye mask off when they sleep without, you know, necessarily inadvertently thinking about it. This has it all built in. So you don't really have to worry about those types of things. Plus, when you travel, it's all connected to one another. So you're not like losing pieces of it.
Well, that's a big part of it. It seems like a small part, but people lose their masks all the time. You're never going to lose this one. But the thought when I sewed it into the hood, and I may have showed you some of the rudimentary prototypes that I made in my dining room. It was ugly, but it really worked well because it stayed in place. I positioned it through trial and error. I positioned it in a way that allowed it to stay on better than any other sleep mask out there. And because it's attached to the hood, instead of a thin strap on the back with no buckles or anything like that, it's very streamlined. The strap is the width of the hood. So that's what really helps it stay in place. And that's another disruptor. If people do use sleep masks, they tend to slip around and fall off, and they'll end up over your one ear, and it all works to disrupt your sleep. And this one stays in place quite nicely.
Absolutely. I know people are always asking me about recommendations for, you know, sleep eye masks. And the only one that I really recommend is the Alaska Bear because it has the 2 straps. And like you said, without the buckles and all these intrusive things that are actually more disruptive to your sleep than anything. I love yours because it's got the wide material. So it's blocking out all of that light. Cause that's the thing that's the most important, right? It's like, it doesn't matter if it's cute or if it says something. It has to be functional. When you're sleeping, it's not about fashion. It's about function. And you want it to work the way that it was intended.
100%. Yeah. I take some flack sometimes for not coming out with different colors and designs, and we will. It's a tough, long, arduous process to build a brand, and we will come out with those. But really the message by just having black, or this one is blue, is that it's function first. This is a sleep solution. Whether we have little prints of rubber duckies all over it at some point, we may, but the message is this is to help you sleep, not look cute in the mirror on the way to bed.
No, absolutely. In the conversation about performance wear, because I know like everyone can benefit from using something that's going to help them regulate their temperature. Temperature plays such an important role. We want it to be cool when we're sleeping. And I always talk about everything in our environment has the ability to trap heat. So, you know, if you're wearing something like the Deep Sleepwear hoodie that helps you with that, you know, it's going to go a long way. But in terms of the individuals who use your type of product, I know that you have a lot of professional athletes and sports teams. As I mentioned, I like to use it for travel. And I think in terms of the way I share it with my audience for shift workers, I think it's such a great tool, especially because a lot of them sleep during the day, and being able to have that kind of all-inclusive, those tools that they need in order to get the best quality sleep. Who do you find that your product is best suited for?
You know, everybody sleeps, right? Not very many people sleep all that well, but everybody sleeps. We all have to sleep. And so there's just a tremendous array of the types of sleepers that are out there. Some sleep hot, some sleep cold, some toss and turn, some don't move. And I wanted to make this as versatile as possible. So travelers will sometimes wear this as a base layer, depending on why they're traveling. I will wear this as under a sport coat sometimes because it looks good under a sport coat. It doesn't look out of place. And then once you're ready to doze off, you just pull the hood up and the mask on, and it's right there for you. And you're kind of going incognito in your sleepwear.
And I know you said you didn't go for fashion, but this actually does look very nice on, like you say, underneath the zip up. It looks really fashionable when we travel.
I am getting there, yeah, into the more of the fashion thing. But so that's going to help people too. A lot of the professional athletes, it really matters to them what they look like going on to and off of the plane and walking down the runway to their locker rooms and things like that. And with social media, they have to look good. So just flat black doesn't do it for a lot of the guys, but they'll wear it on the plane because the NBA in particular, all professional sports have an issue with travel, especially if you're on the West Coast, because these kids are losing testosterone count because of their schedules and their sleep deprivation. That's kind of a scary thing. So even if they're going onto the plane looking with their bling on and everything, they'll change out of that and change into the hoodie so they can sleep properly on the way to their next location. So it works for them as they're traveling on the plane. It works for people. Like, insomnia is not something that this is going to cure, but it could be part of the solution of better sleep. So people that are sleeping at home every night in the hoodie, it's great because it's part of the sleep routine. If you put your sleepwear on, half hour or so before bed, this is like gear. We call this the sleep uniform. Every activity has its uniform, and this is the sleep uniform. You feel like you're ready for the battle of sleep that it can be sometimes. So for people that sleep in it every night at home, it helps get them in the right mental and physical space for sleep. So that's very helpful. And then throughout the night, it is thermoregulating. It blocks light. It blocks sound. So you're exactly where you need to be all throughout the night. And then for people that like to take naps, whether it's a game day nap that a lot of athletes do, or as we get older, many people welcome naps. Even if you've got a 20-minute window in which to nap, or a few hour window, if you're an executive that is burning the midnight oil, or if you're an entrepreneur, as we know, that your window in which to sleep is very short. It's good for those folks because it generally improves the quality of sleep within that window. And sleep trackers will show that. The numbers will bear that out more often than not. And so for people that sleep too hot, this will keep them a little cooler. For people that sleep too cold, this will keep them a little warmer. And that's one of the goals for thermoregulation is, instead of being too hot or too cold, you kind of flatten that line. So the fluctuations are kept at a minimum. So we try to address that as wide of an array of sleepers as possible. And as we come out with different models, there'll be the ones that are more cooling, the ones that are more warming. And so we can keep satisfying more and more people. And that's really our goal. A better slept world is a much happier, healthier place to be in.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like fitting the product with the demographic. And for me, those three that I had mentioned, I would think that every sports team would be interested in this piece of sleep equipment because, I mean, as you mentioned, going across different time zones, a lot of them are starting to enlist sleep coaches now. But when it comes, I mean, that's a different type of shift work, right? When you're playing a game and it's 11 o'clock at night where it would be, 4 o'clock in the afternoon or vice versa, like it can really mess with your sleep or your performance in general. So that affects whether you win or lose. This is one of those things where they have to start paying attention. Like if you're traveling, you want to make sure that you are getting the rest that's needed. And whether you're flying on a plane or whether you're in a hotel room, this is something that can be a consistent, like you said, you put on this piece of equipment, it prepares your mind for, mentally to get to sleep. It helps with that temperature regulation. It blocks out that light regardless of where you are. And it really sets the stage for it. But getting this information in front of more people and helping them to realize, like, a lot of times what we see is tools that are kind of misapplied, but this is kind of a tool that kind of goes across the gamut, right? Like this isn't like a sleep supplement. This is something that naturally helps the natural process of sleep and helps to supplement it, whether you're a hot or whether you're a cold sleeper, it kind of is across the board. So that's great.
Right. And it's nice that there's no gadgetry to it. There's nothing to download. There's nothing to plug in. There's nothing to kind of stress you out about, am I doing this right? You just got to put the thing on. And you had mentioned hotels. There's a very real thing called first night effect, where when you're in unfamiliar surroundings, it's just that first and or second night. It's really tough to get a good night's sleep. So whether you're an athlete that has to perform the next day or you're a traveler that's on vacation, you want to make the most out of that next day. So that means that the better you can sleep the night before, the better off your tour around the Grand Canyon is going to be, or your trips up and down the court are going to be. And the other thing with professional athletes and athletes of all sorts, actually, I didn't personally go to Paris, but we did have athletes wearing these over in Paris. So there's the time difference, first of all. There's the unfamiliar sleeping environs. They had other challenges there, as you probably know, the mattresses, the bedding, etc. We could have helped everybody over there, but easier said than done.
A lot of them brought in their own air conditioning units. Like that's been an issue for years with the Olympics, regardless of where it's held.
Yeah.
And there's actually a number of athletes that spoke out specifically
Yes.
to the issue with temperature and their performance. I think there was one woman that spoke out saying that she thought it cost her a medal because of how poor the quality of sleep that she obtained while she was there because of the accommodations.
That's it. And you and I love and hate to hear that. Bringing attention to the importance of quality sleep is really what everybody needs to know. So that helps us spread the word. But what I wanted to mention further about athletes is that inevitably you're going to suffer an injury, whether it's minor or major. Sleep heals. Interestingly, and again, the numbers bear this out via Aura and Whoop and other trackers, is that you get better deep sleep when you sleep in this. It's the combination between the sleep mask and the way the gentle pressure that it puts on your eyes, just again, it puts you in the right space for sleep. Yes, it's the combination, the darkness, the quiet, and the body temperature control. Regardless of what your bedding is like, regardless of what your ambient light and noise is like, you're giving yourself an advantage that's going to help you heal. And it's the deep sleep phase, the slow wave sleep, that is where your muscles heal and build. So for athletes, that's especially important, and especially if they are trying to heal from an injury. And what I have heard from users is that it helps them combat or it eliminates their symptoms associated with concussions, which is an enormous thing. I've had people say, when I feel the headache coming on, or if I feel a migraine coming on that may or may not be associated with a concussion, I put this on and I lay down and it goes away. And it kind of blew my mind. My mind's been blown several times on this journey. But when I heard that, I'm like, this is bigger than me. This is bigger than Sleepwear. This is bigger than any of us. If we can help people heal and feel better when it comes to something as serious as migraines and concussions, man, we're really onto something. It's great that we're helping the world sleep better. There's so many positives to that. But the healing aspect, when it comes to athletes and non-athletes, has been just so gratifying for us.
That's amazing to hear. I know as someone who suffers from migraines myself, I understand that, wanting to be in a dark space, wanting to cut out all of that light. And, we still filter light when we sleep, which is why it's important to, block out all those intrusive lights, have a dark environment, wear the eye mask. Most people don't realize how important it is to have that dark, cool environment. I mean, that's setting the stage for sleep. Right? Optimizing your sleep environment. That's why it's like 77% of nighttime awakenings actually have to do with your environment. You're wearing something that's too hot, too cold, your sheets, your mattress, just your environment in general, from whether you have carpeting, how cool or how hot you keep your home, and that's going to change by gender, age, and so forth. But when you're using this type of performance tool, and I know you said whether someone sleeps hot or cool, what's kind of your recommendation in terms of what else, like in terms of we're using like sheets or a comforter? Do you generally like tell people they can wear this and not necessarily have to have those additional layers? Or do you have any recommendations on that?
There's no silver bullet, right? We know that this is part of most people's solution because it does do those three things for you quite effectively. And you think about your environment and how expensive it can be to either keep your room cold or keep it hot, depending on the season and where you are. If you want to put blackout shades in, that's a great idea, but that can be very expensive. If you want a white noise machine, not a bad idea for some, or a fan, whatever it might be. All of these things add up, not only in your responsibilities as part of your routine, and you don't want too many things that you have to turn on and position. And so the sleep hoodie kind of levels the playing field. So if you don't have blackout curtains, if you don't have performance bedding, if you don't have a white noise machine, if you don't have full control, like as our kids go off to college, dorm life, you have very little control over most things. Both my kids go to school in cities. So you can't control the sound. You can barely control the light. It gets expensive, and you just, there's only so much you can do. So this really levels the playing field, regardless of the rest of your system, which is really nice. And the fact that you can bring it with you. There are great products out there for cooling your bed, but it's tough to take with you. So if you're used to sleeping with a bed cooler, it just can be cumbersome to take with you. And this is just nice. It literally will pack in your pocket.
I know it folds down so small. It's such a light material, and it really...
Yeah, it really gets to a small place. And it's great that you can wear it out in public too. And people will go shopping in it. They'll get up and they'll grab their morning coffee in it and things like that. So it's very, very flexible. But I think from an investment standpoint, if you're going to really pay attention, and you should, to optimizing your entire environment, it's going to be costly. But if you're going to head in that direction, I'd say start with something like the hoodie, because it is part of the solution. It can be part of the solution. And it's just a much more affordable way to get those three advantages, those three keys to quality sleep.
No, absolutely. And can you tell my listeners where they can find the hoodie?
Happy to. So our website, and just about all of our sales are direct to consumer through our website. It's deepsleepwear.com. There's one E in deep, DEP, one E in sleep, SLEP, wear, WEAR.com. And we are going to be introducing a 3.0 hoodie that is addressing a lot of the wants and needs of, again, that wider and wider array of sleepers.
I'll make sure to drop that in the show notes, and we do have a discount code for them as well. So I'll make sure to leave
excellent.
that. Just as a last question, for someone who's looking to get into the sleep product space, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What opportunities do you think are still kind of not really being addressed in the scope of sleep health? I know there's products that are coming out every single day. Is there any kind of advice that you would give to someone that was looking to get into the sleep product space?
What I would say is, because this is where I come from, it's function first, right? I mean, if you've got a bunch of science behind what you're doing, I guess there's something to be said for that. But there's no silver bullet. So focus on function first and try to identify who it is that you're trying to help. Like, I get a lot of compliments from menopausal women who are just suffering at night as they sweat through most of their stuff. So there's an audience that really needs help. So if you can identify an audience, whether it's what you are personally suffering through, and I find that makes the most sense, at least from my perspective, because you can really lean into it and help others that are suffering the same challenges that you're facing. And it comes across as authentic. There are so many travel pillows out there.
Yeah, I have the neck one. It's like the turtle or something like that.
Yes. Okay. That's going to work for some, but not for everybody. But if it works for you, lean into it and really make sure that it is satisfying your needs, and then it will satisfy other people's needs. And understand that you can't be everything to everybody, and that's okay. And listen to your customers. They'll tell you what they want. They'll tell you what's working, what's not working. I love the back and forth that I have with my customers. And that has gone into this new model. One of the more memorable pieces of feedback was, I'm so excited that this is coming out. Everything that you put into this was on my wish list for the next Deep Sleep Hoodie. And I'm like, okay, we nailed it. And honestly,
it's amazing.
Sir, you were part of this. We've listened to what you guys want and need. And we are just here. I'm not shilling hoodies. I'm providing a sleep solution to people that is hopefully going to make their lives better.
Well, you're putting, it's exactly what I like to say. You're putting the science of sleep into action, something that is actually providing a benefit to people at the end and fulfilling their wish list and helping them overcome, challenges that they're having in regards to getting that good night's sleep. So thank you for that.
For sure. Thanks, Soda.
And that's a wrap on today's episode of the Doze Podcast. If you've ever tossed and turned because your sleep environment just wasn't quite right, or if you found yourself waking up in a sweat, then you know how crucial temperature is to getting the quality sleep you deserve. Glenn's innovative approach shows that achieving the perfect balance of warmth and coolness isn't just possible, it's the key to unlocking your best sleep yet. So whether you're ready to try out the Deep Sleep Hoodie or simply want to rethink your bedtime setup, remember that thermal comfort is more than just a feeling, it's a science. A few smart adjustments can turn your nights from restless to restful, helping you wake up refreshed and ready to take on the day. If you've enjoyed today's conversation, don't forget to subscribe to the Doze Podcast with a Z. Also, please share this episode with anyone who might be losing sleep over temperature troubles, and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, remember, your pure potential if you change how well you sleep.